Hey everyone, we're gonna kick this year with a very simple tutorial. We're gonna create a dynamic step block. Basically in this block, we can control the length, as you can see here, also the number of steps, and when we hit region, you can see the number of steps get updated. So let's do it. First, we need to draw our first step. So I'm gonna draw a quick polyline. It will be 1 meter by 280, and I'll tell you in a minute where we got that 280 from. 1 meter and a C for close. So now the 280, that distance of the step, was taken from the access to and use of buildings approved document M volume 1. And if we go into page 21, in the external steps forming part of an additional route, so basically you can see steps are uniform with a rise between 150 and 170, so that's the height of the step. And then we have distance of the step to actually put your foot on is between 280 and 425. We're gonna keep it at 280 because usually when you add steps as a civil engineer is because you quickly wanna reach a different level very quickly, because probably you don't have space to play with, unless for some different reason you can go for 425. But we're gonna keep it the minimum, which is 280. Now let's go create our block. So we select our polyline, we type block, we name it CTS steps, copyrights, and then we're gonna select our block and right click block editor. Now the first thing I want to do is auto constrain it. So basically when I do changes to the polylines, it will keep its shape. So I'm going to click auto constrain. Make sure in my settings at the command line, I click settings. You can see that pretty much all of them are ticked, but I actually care about the perpendicular and parallel the most. So I just click OK and select everything and hit enter. And you'll see all these icons appear that show me, like, for example, these two polylines are perpendicular, these two are parallel, these are parallel, and these are horizontal. So we'll always stay horizontal. Now the next step is to add our length parameter. So basically the grip that adjusts the length. So all I'm gonna do in the block editor tab in the linear, I'm gonna just click on it, go on the left hand side. Once the red circle appears on the top polyline, I'll left click, and then left click on the right side and then drag it up. I'm just gonna change the D1 to length. So now if I close my block editor and save changes, you can see now I can adjust the length, and even in the properties panel, you can see I can make it 2 meters or back to 1 meter I can type. So now if I go right click, block editor again. So now let's work on our array. To do that, we need the block palette, and this usually should appear, or you can just click on the authoring palette. And then the parameters, I'm gonna select again linear, but in this case, I'm gonna draw from the top of the step to the bottom, actually from the start of the step to the bottom. And I'm just gonna rename it to array, basically so I can know this is the parameter that I use to drag the arrays, because that's how I'm gonna do the steps. I'm just gonna array this one all the way down. So now I'm gonna select the parameter, and then in the properties, I'm just gonna change the number of grips to 1. So basically I always wanna drag downwards. Now in the actions, I'm gonna go to the array, click on it, and it's gonna ask me to select a parameter. So I'm gonna select array, and then I'm gonna select the object, which is my polyline. So I select it and hit enter. Now you can see it's asking me for the distance between the columns. It will be 280. And we're done. So if we go close block editor and save changes, you can see that now this work as increments of 280. But we can drag it as far as we want actually. I don't want that, because if we go back in the document, you can see that no individual flight has a rise between landings of more than 1800. So if we pull our calculator up, and just to show you, the flight cannot be more than 1800. So if we divide this by 150, which is the minimum height of a step, that gives us 12 steps, basically. So it gets divided by 12. If we do 12 times the distance of the minimum 280, we get 3.36 meters. And this number we're gonna use to constrain this one into 12 steps. So I'm just gonna go block editor, and then in the array, I'm just gonna make sure change the distance type to increment, change it to 0.28. The distance increment, the minimum is 0.28, so it's 1, and then 3.36 meters. So now you can see we've got only 12 lines, which is what we want. So now I'm just gonna go close block editor, save changes, and now you can see that I can drag it all the way down to 12 steps. So array 3.36. If you wanna take it a step further and figure out how many steps you need to reach a certain height, stick to the end of the tutorial because it's a bonus. It's not really usually because you figure out how many steps you need anyway. But for the next step, to add the updated text, we're just gonna go multi-line text. We're just gonna draw a text. I'm just gonna type steps and just gonna get out because I know my text size is weird. So I'm just gonna adjust it. So I justify middle center, text height 0.1. And I'm just gonna put it right in the middle of my steps. And I'm gonna just double click again. And then I'm gonna right click, insert field, or Control F for shortcut. And in this case, I'm gonna, in the field category, I'm gonna select objects. And then from the field names, I'm gonna select a formula. Now, in the formula section, I'm gonna type equal. So it works like the Excel spreadsheet. So you type equal cell 1 plus cell 2. But in this case, what I wanna do is I wanna get the distance of the array, the total distance, and then divide it by the distance of the step. So it will be Control F again, or right click, insert field. I'm gonna, in the field category, I'm gonna select objects, and then in the field name object again, and then click here to select my object. In this case, my object is the block I created. And you can see in the property, the array property appears here, and it says 280 as a preview. So I'm gonna select OK. And then I'm gonna divide this value by 0.28, which is the width of my step. So if I hit OK now, evaluate, you can see that now the preview is 1. And because we don't have 1.0 steps, I'm just gonna change the current position to 0 and then hit OK. You can see now we have steps 1. So now if I drag all my steps all the way down and a tiny bit more, you can see we've got the 12 steps. Now you can see that we have the lines when we're dragging, but that's the 11 steps, and for the 12th one we just need to go slightly down. Once we go further, it won't pick it up. So that's a thing to bear in mind. So now if we want to take it a step further and start figuring out how many steps we need, which usually you do it on your head, but let's say you want to simplify our life, all we do is just go to block editor and we're gonna play with the parameters manager. So basically we'll do it for us. So we're gonna go to parameters manager and we're just gonna add a few new parameters. So one would be the height required, so the height that we need to achieve, and the other one will be the steps required. So we're just gonna name them height required, no spaces, and then steps required. So the height required, you just type it in, and then the steps required will be the height required divided by 150, which is the height of the step. So if I go close block editor now, if I just reset the block, just to see, select the block, you can see in the properties panel, we've got length 1, array 0.28, height required 1. So to achieve a 1 meter height, we need 6.6 steps, so 7 steps. I believe we could possibly round it down, but I haven't fiddled with that one. So let's say now we need 0.6 height distance. So it tells me 4 steps. So I just go 1, 2, 3, 4. And there you go. So if you like this tutorial, hit the like button. If you loved it, hit the subscribe button to show your support. Also share it with your colleagues so they can learn how to do dynamic blocks, or don't share it so you can show off your dynamic block skills. And to make your life easier, this block will be available in the CTS website. I'll see you in the next tutorial.